Mario Judah is an artist who quickly rose to fame in 2020 and took the entire world by storm. With his unique style of mixing rockstar vocals on hip-hop beats, as well as his over-the-top image, there was a time where you literally could not escape his name or his music. However, for whatever reason, just a few months later, he would seemingly vanish into thin air, never to be heard from again for another 3 years, until now. Fans logged on to YouTube just a few days ago to see that Mario Judah, out of the absolute blue, had dropped a new song called Love You Anymore. And although almost every single artist in his position who had not dropped music in almost 4 years would have absolutely fallen off into oblivion, you can clearly see by the fact that I'm even making this video that the opposite effect is taking place. Mario Judah's new song in just 5 days has already overtaken the views of the last song that he dropped 3 years ago when he was far more relevant. So this now begs the question, how is this even humanly possible? I mean, if he was an established rapper like Playboi Carti and then took a break, then fine, but he literally had just come on the scene and did not have any massive Billboard hit songs or even a cult fan base. Well, the answer to his successful return lies in the genius marketing that took place behind the scenes. And today, we're gonna get into the 3 main points that allowed this to happen. You may not have noticed that any of these things were taking place even though they were right in front of you, so stick around till the very end, otherwise none of this will make sense. First of all, the only reason Mario Judah's return was even possible is because of something crucial he did before he even disappeared. If you were around in 2020, whether you were even on TikTok or not, you knew the fat guy with the red hair and emo dressing. You also knew the guy who sounded like a white dude saying the N-word. This man, even though he was a newcomer, established one of the most recognizable brands and images of the new generation, which is why step 0 is that Mario Judah already had impeccable branding. If he was just some artist who had a few TikTok hits but nobody really knew what he looked like or cared about him beyond the songs, he would have fallen off into oblivion and gone ice cold long ago. But because he was so recognizable, no matter how much time passed, we would always remember him. I mean, no matter how much 6ix9ine fell off and is now broke, could you ever possibly dream of forgetting who he was? Of course not, because even if we don't listen to his music anymore, 6ix9ine's image will always be forever burnt into our brains. But of course, 6ix9ine did still in fact fall off, which means that having a solid image is obviously not enough to keep your music relevant over the years, which is what brings us to the next step that led to Mario Judah's successful return. Over the course of the last few years, as his songs like I Miss the Rage would be played as memes on TikTok, his producer tag, Where the F is Mario Judah, would eventually go on to become a meme. Well, because, you know, he disappeared. And so, as much as it was just pure coincidence that this just so happened to be his producer tag, this actually did help to keep the conversation around his name alive over the years, which might sound like a small point, but leads into one of the most important points I have to make throughout this entire video. The only reason, and I mean the absolute only reason Mario Judah's name was kept alive and relevant over all this time without him dropping music or having any Billboard hits or having a real solid fan base is because the conversation around him never truly stopped. And no, I'm not talking about just the Where the F is Mario Judah memes or people talking about how he sounds white. Those would have preserved his name for maybe the first 6 months to a year that he was gone. But what really kept his name in our mouths over all this time was people talking about the fact that he fell off. There are countless videos, documentaries, and video essays right now on YouTube breaking down the reasons that Mario Judah's career did not live up to its full potential. Don't believe me? Okay, well picture this. Just 2 days before Mario Judah's return and me making this video, I was watching a YouTube video essay about the top 5 gimmick rappers who blew up in the last few years, but ultimately lost everything by relying too much on their gimmick. And of course, an entire section of this video was dedicated to none other than Mario Judah. Now this is all well and good, but imagine my surprise when this man, who is still fresh on my mind because I just watched a video about him, just so happens to drop a song 2 days later. You think I'm not gonna click on the video? And that's exactly what I'm talking about. The fact that people have been talking about how he fell off is what kept him on. Another example of this happening is Lil Xan. And while it's a bit different because most people actually think Lil Xan's music is straight garbage versus Mario Judah, who is universally accepted as extremely talented, Lil Xan through all of this is still managing to pull more views on his recent music than many rappers who are bigger than he is, purely because the culture is always talking about how he fell off. And if you're laughing at me right now for using Lil Xan as someone whose name has been kept alive over the years, you're actually proving my point, because if he was so irrelevant, you wouldn't have even remembered about him to laugh at his failure. And this point about conversation brings me into my final point, which ties this entire thing all together. When Mario Judah returned a couple days ago, everybody noticed that he was different, not necessarily sonically, but physically, and it became an entire point of conversation that he lost weight. Now, I won't lie, if he actually lost even more weight or came back looking ripped like John Cena after this 3-year hiatus instead of just losing a normal amount of weight, this would have worked 10 times harder. I mean, we would have literally been seeing millions of TikTok memes about this for like a week straight, like when Nikocado Avocado got skinny or something. And believe me when I say this would have been the biggest moment of his career since the fake whole lotta red. Unfortunately though, he didn't take this route, but that's fine because, you know, the point is people were still curious enough about the normal amount of weight loss he had to actually go check out the song anyway and see what people were talking about. Now, obviously, I am not saying that you should lose weight to market your music. I am saying that the whole point of 85% of music marketing at this level is not gonna be about ads or trends. It's going to be about conversation. And if you can start a conversation in the culture around you, you will see yourself very successful and very wealthy. And speaking of becoming wealthy, if you want to learn the full story about the evil way WhatsApp has been making money off your information, despite being a 100% free app, click the video on your screen right now. And as always, this business has been decoded.